Okay, so we know things are a mess, right? Things aren't getting better for the people of France, and you have countries that are sitting back and watching like France implode upon itself, and they're worried, okay? And there are some countries in particular that are more worried about the France situation than others. For example, Austria, okay? If you remember back, think about where Marie Antoinette is from. Her brother is like the king of Austria, and they're sitting back going, oh shoot, this does not look good for her. It does not look good for her husband, her family. They start to get worried, okay? And what this is going to do is it's going to produce like external action from other countries, particularly Austria, who will then also talk Prussia into helping them. They're worried about Marie Antoinette, but there's something else here that these other countries are worried about. If the French people can overcome and rise up and get rid of their monarch, or at least imprison their monarch, kidnap them, what does that mean for their own countries? And that is something that is of great concern to them. Okay, yes, Austria is worried about Marie Antoinette. We know that. But it's a much bigger thing here. In September of um, in September of 1792, Austria, because they are worried and panicking, they basically send a directive to the National Assembly, and they say, release the king and the queen, or we are going to attack you. And the Legislative Assembly goes, okay, like whatever. What this does, though, is it totally freaks out like people everywhere. Because this revolution is going on, France doesn't really have like a strong military. So Austria starts to invade France. Okay, they want to, stick to their word. They said they were going to invade if the king and the queen were not released. The king and the queen were not released. They start to invade. But think about the last time that the people of Paris thought they were being invaded. That resulted in the Bastille being torn down. Okay, so what happens this time is in September of 1792, when Austria begins to invade France, people freak out again. All right. And this time, they believe some rumors that basically the entire city of Paris is going to be destroyed, that, they're going to be killed. Again, a lot of nonsensical things. But they react and they overreact. So what happens is something known as the September massacres, okay? In September, out of response to being invaded by Austria, um, thousands of, and I'm talking like 20,000, um, like Parisians and peasants and people from the Third Estate basically go and mob the Tuileries, where the king and the queen are staying or being kept, and they go, oh, you want to threaten us? Well, now we're going to threaten the king and the queen that you're so worried about. They go, they kill, and they overtake like 900 guards that are protecting the king and queen, put their heads on pikes, march them around, you know the story, recapture the king and the queen, and then lock them essentially in like a tower. And when I talk about this, I don't mean like a fancy, nice place to stay, not a castle. This is like a prison, okay? No heat, no food. They, aren't really offered anything. Up until this point, they had amenities, they had things available to them. Once they move to the tower, the conditions are like absolutely horrific, okay? They're not really given a lot of things. A lot of them are sick. And it's not just the king, the queen, and the two royal children. It's like extended family. Like Louis's sister is in there, and there's like other cousins and stuff that have been imprisoned with them. So the situation has become dire. And after they imprison Louis and the royal family, the mob of people doesn't stop there. They then continued to blame nobles who we know have left, a lot of them. And if they haven't left, a lot of them have actually been imprisoned since the Great Fear. So, as part of this reaction to Austria, a whole bunch of people, peasants, things like that, storm the prisons where nobles are being kept, who are defenseless, who haven't been out of prison for like a year or two, and they just start killing them in their prison cells. And by the time it's all said and done, the September massacres have resulted in all the guards being killed outside of the Tuileries, the king and the queen and the royal family being imprisoned in an actual like prison, and over 1,000 nobles who were in various prisons have been killed, kind of executed in their prison cells by these angry mobs of people. It is very clear that things are out of control in France, and that this, legislative assembly doesn't have any control. So those people, those angry mobs that are running around, basically start like demanding a new governmental change. And what will happen in 1792 is they will create the fourth government of this revolution. They get rid of the legislative assembly and they create the National Convention, which is like the new governing parliament. And when they create the National Convention, they make France a full republic. And what that means is it's no longer a monarchy, not even a limited one. What that also means is that there's no reason for Louis to be alive, okay? He's not a king anymore. When the National Convention is created, he's now a citizen, and he is a citizen that has been considered to do really terrible things to his country. So this situation has become very, very dire. And what is going to be driving this is like an extremist group or Jacobin club that has kind of dominated and taken power. So we're going to watch a little bit here about this like political club that has started to really become very popular in France.
The Jacobin Club, a rising political party, was to the left, but it soon broke into several factions that were on the center, left, and radical left of the political spectrum. Politics, where the left has a right and the right has a left, and they both have centers that no one listens to. Amid these tremendous changes, women were claiming their rightful place as citizens to match the official expressions of equality and rights for all. In 1791, Olympe de Gouges, author and daughter of a butcher, published the Declaration of the Rights of Woman, stating explicitly women's equality with men. Women participated in political clubs and successfully pushed for laws that ended men's power over the family and also ended the practice of men getting a larger percentage of inheritances than women. As war advanced, women also lobbied for the right to serve in the army. And was war ever advancing? In 1792, the Parisian masses, threatened by the approach of foreign royal armies, took extreme action. They invaded the Parisian palace where the royal family lived and forced new elections for a national convention. Then, in the fall of 1792, further violence produced the abolition of the French monarchy altogether and a call for every other kingdom to do the same. All governments are our enemies, all people are friends, read the Edict of Fraternity. Once the convention had declared France a republic in January 1793, Louis XVI was executed after a narrow vote. A new instrument of execution called the guillotine carried out what would soon become a bloodbath against many supposed enemies of the people. Because it killed so swiftly and allegedly painlessly, the guillotine was considered an enlightened form of execution. And that brings us to Maximilien Robespierre.